news. Just in recent days, the Secretary General of the ANC has said that the door remains open and they wish to continue engagements with the MKP. You've also noted in the statement that the door is always open for the real ANC. Do you have any plans to engage the leadership of the ANC in coming days? And perhaps under what conditions would such an engagement take place? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Samkele Masego from the SABC. Mr. Former President, in essence, on your question of taking all legal avenues available, even internationally, what are some of the international legal avenues you are looking at taking, particularly when it comes to challenging this particular election? Secondly, on the matters of your political home, the ANC, it was alluded to and alleged by Secretary General William Balula that they tried to get a hold of you. They've not been able to get a hold of you for the particular negotiations on the coalitions. Is that a true reflection of what truly happened, or were they simply lying? Then lastly, what truly happened with the negotiations with the Inkatha Freedom Party in KwaZulu-Natal? The person that Hlabisa says a meeting was set up, the team of the MK Party was late by 2 hours. Subsequently to that, Mpule waited for another 2 hours, and the team never pitched. What is the true reflection on that particular avenue? Then lastly, on the issues pertaining to the progressive bloc, what will be the nature and form of the discussions of this new opposition that is there within the country? We've seen the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, saying that they are willing to work with the MK Party, and they wanted you as the MK Party to lead the province of KwaZulu-Natal on the virtue that you are the biggest party within that legislature. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there are two hands in this.
Good evening. Alpha Ramushwana here from Eyewitness News and Radio 702. My colleague has covered some of my questions, but I also really want to know, when it comes to KZN particularly, you had an opportunity to govern with other parties in KwaZulu-Natal. And again, we did hear that you ignored some of the parties who are willing to negotiate with the MK Party. And you speak about a DA and ANC coalition which you are opposed to. Why did you allow this DA-ANC coalition to lead KZN when we could have taken the stand and governed the province with other political parties? Thank you.
And the last one?
We are here from Salam Media. We just heard from General Fandi Masemola. He's the national chairperson of SABS, that they have deployed additional public order police in the KZN. This is based on intelligence gathered that there are threats of post-election violence. As a political party that did particularly well in the KZN, what's your response to this?
Thank you. Let's give to the team to respond.
Tell us.
Let me start with the first question regarding the interview with JJ Taban and the NCA. Nice. Let me unpack what transpired there. JJ Tabane requested for an interview with President Zuma, and he's been requesting an interview for the longest time, as is the case with many of you. He was then granted an opportunity in the form of his show for the ENCA, and he came through with his team to Ngandla, off the back of the invite, where we had given him an opportunity to engage with President Zuma in a marathon interview that took 2 hours. We started from around midnight until 2 a.m. We never in any way held back on any questions. We never told him what questions to ask. He engaged President Zuma openly. And President Zuma responded to every single question. The problem, and what is interesting, is that in actual fact, it was before 12 o'clock, President, if I recall, because at 12 they were going to go off alive. So we're trying to get to get the interview done live. JJ Tabane contacted the team in the form of his the senior leaders within ENCA for a live. They refused a live. Instead, they wanted it to be pre-recorded. We then agreed, it's fine, we'll go ahead with the pre-record. Take into consideration that it would be aired on JJ Tabane's show on the Monday. Did it happen on Monday morning, on the Monday evening show? No. So, we know that the MD, Norman, of ENCA, and maybe the ENCA team here can tell us when our interview is going to be aired. But Norman, we know, has got a very close relationship with the likes of Kumbuzo Nchabe and Cyril Ramaphosa. We know that. So if you want your answer in terms of why there is censorship in this ENCA, that is the reason why. ENCA took me live, but you'll never see that interview that I did live in the media or on social media. Why? Because I'm speaking about the IEC. So the issue of censorship, and we know that at times in most cases it's not the reporter's problems or issue to cover certain things. You are censored yourself, we know, by your bosses, what you must ask, what you can't ask. And that must come to an end. So, do we believe that it had a material impact? Absolutely. It did have an impact on the elections. There's no doubt. What were they hiding? And by the way, in that interview, President Zuma says things he has never said in public. So we need to demand that that interview is played in its totality. And one thing we have learned is to bring our own camera. That's that.
Okay. SG.
Thank you, Colleague Moses. Oh, that's all.
Musical chairs.
Greetings to everyone. Can I put it here? Yeah. Sure. I think there are quite a number of questions, but must I hold this one? Yeah. Oh, okay. Aziko is the Newcastle. Now there are a few questions that I need to answer in relation to issues of the IFP engagements. But also there's another one in relation to why contradiction. Why do you want to object to the elections but equally wants to lead the negotiations and ultimately KZN government? Firstly, let's clarify that the people of KwaZulu-Natal gave us 45%, which makes us the majority party in terms of seats and percentage. The next party that followed us, it's only 18%. And after them, which is the IFP, after them it's the ANC with 16%. So when we sat down as leadership, we felt we have responsibility to respond to those who have had confidence to us as Umkhonto says, that whilst we pursue the legal challenge on the elections itself, but we can't leave the space open because we owe it to those people who voted us. That's the first one. So it was a response to those who voted us, and we're very thankful for that. And the second one is to correct this misrepresentation of facts by the IFP. I think there is a narrative that has been drawn as if we abdicated the responsibility of first forming the government of KZN. But let's first clarify the fact that it is the ANC that said, because it has 40% national, it bears a responsibility of forming government, and therefore is inviting everybody to form government at a national level. In terms of their own assertion and policy position, it's logical that they should have allowed us to do the same thing in KZN. Now, we felt that their underhand dealing is a symbolic of their own, behavior, if you may, of unprincipled ANC of Ramaphosa. Because they should have been active enough to say, if this is our stance national, obviously in the province, MK should have led the process of forming government. I think President Julius Malema has been emphatic on this point, which makes a complete sense. But we then took an initiative of talking to different political parties. We started with the IFP. After we picked up an information that the ANC in KZN was engaging with all other parties, we wrote a formal letter to the IFP requesting a meeting with them. They never responded in writing, by the way. They responded by a telephone call and a WhatsApp message, agreeing to the meeting that we requested to have. But because we were delayed into the meeting was supposed to have started at 5, we requested it to start at 6. On the basis of that, they cancelled the meeting. Not waited for us, they cancelled. So it begs the question as to how much time allocation did they have from Kondowe's. So literally it meant 1 hour. Now we gave them 2 hours before the actual meeting time, because we requested at 3 to shift the time from 5 to 6. So there was 2 hours in between. So it's not true that they waited for us, because they then sent a message requesting that we meet the following day at 4. And we confirmed the meeting at 4. The next thing, our national negotiating team told us that they were already in Johannesburg for the engagement on the government of national unity. So whatever that they have said is not true. But nonetheless, we continue to, I'm sure the question that will be a follow-up on that will be the NFP one. Maybe let's just answer that equally so that you don't follow that up. I think we'll need to say, as part of the process, we engaged with the NFP. Again, we wrote them a formal letter requesting a meeting. The meeting was in twofold. We organized a meeting between the two presidents, President Zuma and President Barnes of the NFP. The reason for that approach was that NFP and President Zuma had historical relationship with the former president and the late president of the NFP, Gamagwaza Msimbi. All of you will remember that when President Zuma was still the president of the Republic, he appointed Gamagwaza Msimbi as the deputy minister. And you will know that even when she was very sick, and President Zuma was pressured to remove her as deputy minister, President Zuma did not do that on humanitarian grounds, but also because there was an understanding that President Zuma was requested by the late president of NFP to help them grow their own party. So it's very important that there was a historical context, hence the meeting of the two presidents. Unfortunately, we engaged with the delegation from the IFP without getting into details. And unfortunately, they decided to work with other people. But in terms of the process in KZN, we have raised our dissatisfaction. I'm sure those that have seen social media videos, that again the IEC that was running the election allowed the plain rigging, point blank, of the election in that legislature. Members of that legislature were actually voting in plain sight of the two people that were supposed to monitor as to how were they voting. We can share the videos to the members of the media, but it's also on our Mkondowensizo Facebook page and many other socials there.